Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. So in this video, this is going to be part one of a three-part series on how to build an RC track. So as you can see, it doesn't really look like an RC track right now because this video is just going to be kind of making a blueprint or a rough draft of a RC track. Because the ground right now is frozen and in 2 weeks it's going to be spring break, and so we don't really have a lot of water, so it's just frozen ice ground is all we have to deal with right now. With that being said, the stuff we're doing in this video is kind of how to prepare for an RC track if you're planning on making one. Let's get into it a little bit. So the first thing that you want to do with an RC track is you want to draw a picture. You want to kind of get a basic idea of what you want and just kind of get that out of the way so that way you kind of know what your project's going to look like. We're going to get into the three tools that I used for this patch of land to prepare for an RC track. The first tool we have is a rake. Now, if you're going to be making an RC track or preparing for one, you might want to get a metal one because it's metal, right? And it's going to catch a lot more grass. It's going to catch rocks or even sticks like big branches. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot of tall grass that's just lying down. So I needed to use this to get all the grass out of the way, which explains the piles I have in the yard right now. Now, I don't know if you guys are going to have the same problem, but for me, I have a lot of tall grass, so using this was really good. Now, if you already have a plastic rake, that's fine. You could just use that. But if you're thinking about buying a rake for this type of project, I would suggest getting a metal one, because later on, if you have an RC track prepared, it's going to be used to basic maintenance on your track, like making it, like grading it and getting all the dirt nice and loose and then compacting it again, just so it makes the track a lot more grippy and you can go on it a lot more fast. Now, the other thing that's good about this rake is that it will pick up any debris that you don't see. And that kind of goes into the next thing, is you want to look for any rocks or branches or things that might become a problem that you don't see. Now, if you don't have this kind of tall grass, you might not have that problem, but just as like a word of thought, because even if the ground is nice and cut, you might not see it. So that's kind of the grader, or the rake, of what it's used for. So let's get into our next tool. So our next tool is a hoe. Now, you can use a pickaxe or a hoe or a shovel, but for what I used it for is, since the ground is frozen, there's a loose layer on top, because since it's been melting and warming up, it's just got like a soft layer on top, or at least relatively soft. So when you're going down, after you grade it, you go down and you get rid of that loose layer. And doing that will get rid of a lot of branches and sticks that you might not see. It will remove a lot of your grass. So when the track, when you start building your track, like after all this season is over, you can be very happy because you already got a patch of land that has no grass, so you don't have to do an extra step. If the ground was a lot softer, it would be a lot harder to do because you'd be taking up bigger chunks, because it would be going deeper with each hit. So when I hit the ground with this, it kind of stops at a certain point because the ground is all ice. Now, it's still relatively cold out. I don't know if you guys will have this problem, but you might have to go at it a lot harder because the ground is ice, and the loose layer might not be super loose, but it's looser than the ground underneath. The other thing that you could use this for is, if you have a track prepared, you can use this to bring up dirt. Now, you could just go around the whole track just kind of digging it up. If there's any grass or stuff that's forming, you can just use this to dig up the grass to kind of move it out of the way. And not only that, with all of the spare dirt that you have piled up from this, all the grass will die and it will decompose over time, and you'll have some good dirt for your berms and your jumps. All right, let's get into the third tool now. The third tool. Now, I didn't use this one on my track because I have the hoe, but what you can use this for is if there's any like rock or anything that is kind of in the way, you can use a shovel to lift it out of the way. Now, the other thing that you could use this for is you can kind of go around digging up holes, so that way when it gets a lot softer, water will form in and it will go around, it'll make the ground nice and soft. Now, for our case, I didn't use it because the ground is frozen, but I didn't need this because I already had the hoe to get rid of the grass. Okay, now that I showed you that, let me just go into a quick video on how I use these on the little patch of land here before it gets dark. Okay, so we're going to use these two tools today, since I don't necessarily need to use the shovel because I already have both of these. Using these tools will just be a lot easier. But if you don't have one of these, you could still use a shovel for it. It will just take a lot more work. We'll get into using the rake first. So I've already dug up quite a bit here and there's not a lot of grass, but what you would do is you would just go like this, pick up all the grass, everything that's loose, and that way when you are using your hoe, you don't have to worry about, you know, it taking a lot more work because you already removed all the grass. So now that all the grass is removed, or if it's flattened, you have flat land to work with so that you can use your hoe. So that's what you use this for, is just getting rid of all the grass, all the loose layer. Now, if you don't have as much grass as I do, you could still use this for raking up leaves and excess grass and dead grass that you don't want. So it's good for both worlds. Now into our second tool here is the hoe. So what you would use this for is you would just go just like this and just kind of get rid of all the grass and take off the loose layer. So as you can see there, it looks relatively good. Now, I don't know if you could see it, but as I'm hitting, I'm seeing white spots. That is ice because, again, the ground is frozen, but I'm hitting essentially the soft spot on top. So that way I'm just getting rid of the loose layer, not getting to the ice because I don't want the ice. You just want the loose layer. So if your ground is frozen, it's actually good for this because your loose layer is on top. So that way you can just get a lot more work done and just get the whole top ready and set. All this is essentially just preparing yourself. You're just getting everything ready. You're not really looking to make a track today or, you know, sometime around like spring. You're just kind of preparing so that way you don't have to do as much work. Now, if you're concerned about the track getting, you know, wrecked and stuff, or if you're afraid of when the water comes up, it's going to ruin it. If you form it before the ground gets soft or the ground gets a lot of water, you don't have to worry, because if you're doing it now, before all the water rises and before the ground gets super soft, it'll just be ready. If you want, if you wait until the ground gets a little bit softer, you could use a rototiller. Now, I don't have a rototiller and I don't want to rent one because it costs a lot of work, and I mean, it may make your job a little bit easier, but you're essentially just doing what all three of these tools do, just it's in one package. If you're going over the ground and you are grinding up pretty much everything, you haven't prepared the ground or anything, you're going to get a lot of grass and you're going to get a lot of weeds. And if that happens, you have to clear that all off and you have to rototill it again so that way you get the dirt back up. With this, if you're doing it this way, you can get rid of the loose layer first, and then if you want to buy a rototiller then, or if you want to use a pickaxe or a hoe or anything of that nature to get your track ready, then that'd be a lot better, because you're saving a lot more, you're saving a lot more time, you're spending a lot less money, and you get to keep the tools. If you were buying a rototiller or if you were renting one, it costs a lot of money to maintain, and you know, it's kind of like owning another vehicle that you have to watch out for. The other thing is that if you have basic hand tools, you don't have to worry about them breaking. They're most likely metal. You're going to use them for pretty much everything. With a rototiller, it kind of just has one job, bringing dirt up for soil, for gardens and whatnot. All right, so that's going to be the end of this video. So if you liked it, you know, share it and comment. If you have any questions or any ideas, you know, just kind of message me if you want, or anything, because, you know, it's a lot of fun and I love doing these kinds of things. So I hope you guys enjoyed. So see you in the next one.